is that so loud?
Okay.
Weird. Oh no, one sec.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
No, I was muted.
Oh no, one sec. Oh no.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, we're getting the feedback because of the phone.
Oh no, one sec. Oh no. There you go.
Where the echo's coming from?
Yeah, that was me. That was me. That was totally me. Old man,
earpods.
New technology. It is so we were having some Paul. Hey, there's Corey and Paul. Corey's trying to read his A1 status as top fan. But yeah, so we're still flushing things out, and we're still having problems with the technology, the sound. Again, it works perfectly, and then it just dies. But we've got a workaround. We sent, and it does drive me nuts. I sent I got a request for technical support.
Yeah.
And their response, and this is StreamYard. So StreamYard, if you're listening, this was the response. Well, clear your cache. That will work. And you know how many times I've reached out for technical support, and their answer is clear your cache. Like, what is this magical cache that destroys everyone's software?
Yeah, it's super disappointing.
Yeah, totally.
Great support. Super great tech support.
Yeah, it is just nutty. How was your week, my friend?
It was good. It was good. Super busy week. Just trying to keep on top of everything. We got lots of projects. I think this is like our last year of funding, so just trying to make sure I'm getting on top of all my reporting and making sure everyone's on the same page and everything.
And that's the LV?
Yeah, with our partnership with MasterCard, LV Foundation.
Yeah. Now, is there a pathway there it might be continued, or do you think, or you might not be able to speak to that, but
yeah, I couldn't speak to it like guaranteed, obviously, but I mean we're feeling pretty good about it. Like we've had a lot of really good feedback throughout the whole process from MasterCard, and it's been really good. Like we've challenged the way that the program and LV works and a lot of stuff, and they seem really positively receptive to it. Yeah, I think they're really happy with it, and I know Ulnoeg wants to keep us all on, even if the funding doesn't continue. We'll still have to the work will have to continue, right? So,
well, I think back to 2016 when we did some work for the Regal Hall Foundation, and it was funded by the MasterCard Foundation, who hadn't historically up until then done work in Canada. It had been mostly overseas, international, and they had a genuine interest around Indigenous young people in education. And so three things led a project and provided the information back to the MasterCard Foundation through Regal Hall to be able to sort of, it was calls to action from young people and co-creation. So it was a group of young people that we brought together on Manitoulin Island in Chiging First Nation and the surrounding AOK as well, AKO as well, a number of nations there. And we brought young people, First Nation, Métis, and Inuit youth together. And then we brought leaders in education, both Indigenous education and just education in general, brought those leaders together. And young people came and presented to them. This was about 2 months after their original piece, and really informed what the driving needs were for around Indigenous education in Canada. And from that, the first two sort of projects were funded, and the Elaviv, right?
Yeah, Elaviv.
Was born from all of that work, those voices of First Nation, Métis, and Inuit young people. It's cool. So now when I go on their website and you see across the country all the programs that are supported and opportunities to further this movement around young people's voices, young people in education, young people, and it's just, I always smile when I see that because, yeah,
it's cool. I think we're the only one in the Atlantic too.
Yeah,
it's really interesting. I could be wrong. I can't remember, but I'm almost certain. Yeah, it's really fun. That is it's a weird conversation, eh? Like I saw someone make a post about that the other day on Facebook about how a lot of projects are like one-off projects, and they were complaining about like one-off workshops, one-off projects and stuff, and how the funding cycle is, and how, like all that stuff. And that's a conversation we have a lot at work too, is like, how do we support, like, how do we come in, support these programs for a year, for a couple years, whatever, and like knowing that might potentially not be able to support them financially down the road, right? Or however. So like we've been having a lot of conversations around like building foundations up, building capacity, and basically just building capacity. And it's like we're all fighting over the same pie really at the end of the day. So it's just like, it's really difficult and frustrating. And then sorry, I'll finish really quickly, but you see like a lot of programs and just like even people doing great programming, if they don't have the team around them or the supports or something, the safety net of financial security, like coming for funding, like it really affects the programming and what kind of programming people can come up with and stuff. So like it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, continue, sorry.
Well, no, and it's so true because it's actually a sin because we haven't come to the place yet where we've understood that the challenges that we're trying to address in social spaces, whether it's Indigenous education, whether it's Indigenous young people, whether it's language revitalization, whether it's healing, whether it's addiction, whether it's homelessness, not just even in our community, like within our communities, but across the country, these large challenging issues, they are not going to be resolved with 12 months of funding. And so we have to start, I think, as spaces and systems get honest with ourselves, that model, it serves a purpose, but it does not provide the capacity for the shifts that are necessary. Because what's necessary is generational shifts. We have to be looking at 20 years down the road and like a whole generation. and making a plan and making sure there's funding for that plan for 20 years. The difficulty is that funders have very little desire for that, right? It's substantially larger, right? So say your program is $200,000 a year, say. Well, now a funder is committing $4 million, right? And then probably more, because in theory, if it's $200,000 today, it'll probably be $300,000 in 10 years and $500,000 in 20 years. But the point being is that until we get funding pools from governments, foundations, and corporations that have that longevity look, and until I think we start looking at it in that lens, right? Like we talk about, say, homelessness as a topic across the country, right? And the reality is that we need a plan that's 20 years long. Like we can open up emergency shelters, we can put mats on floors, we can open up a church, we can do all these things today in the immediate, but that individual or that family is needing help that's in a different capacity. They need to be able to heal, and what they need is that for their kids not to have the same experiences, right? Like, and when we look at in our communities, the challenges that exist there, so many of them are intergenerational to come from. Like they come to us intergenerationally. And so the healing has to be intergenerational. And we have to be thinking about and I think about Everett all the time, just the opportunity that JJ and Shawnee have and Arlene and I as grandparents have is to be able to create a different path for him that none of us have experienced fully, right?
That's so crazy.
And we have to be thinking about Everett when he's 20, not just Everett when he's 3, right? And oh, look at this. It is Lana and Kate are watching together. Very nice. And Sheldon is there. Good evening, Sheldon. Nice to see. I just saw Sheldon. And Corey is giving us sunglasses because we're two cool dudes. And of course, Paul. I am. It's all these folks are here with us tonight. It's wonderful.
Is it pronounced Boujou or Bouzou?
Boujou.
Boujou. Okay. Boujou. I'm pronouncing it wrong this whole time.
No worries.
It's funny.
No worries. I called you Micmac until I was.
I mean, that's what the mall is called. So
it is, yeah, totally. Yeah. And in fairness, I think people were using Micmac in there as well. So in Nova Scotia.
They still do.
Yeah,
they still do.
Yeah. But anyways, long and short of it, I think what you folks have been able to do at the foundation has been really fantastic. And we are very excited because raise your hand if you're going to go to the Reel Out opening film presented by Three Things Consulting. Brendan Goober.
And we're finally making it back.
And he's going to join us as we celebrate Reel Out, 25 years of Reel Out next Friday night. Again, I apologize. We'll put the link up in the little streamer there in a short bit, but make sure you check out Reel Out's website because the festival opens on it actually opens on Thursday night at the Broom Factory, but the films and showing starts on Friday night. And there is Mance. Hello, Mance. Quake, Mance. Look at all of the, we have a very multicultural crowd tonight. This is very awesome.
I love that.
Totally.
That means we have a safe space.
It does mean we have a safe space, or safer at least.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, Brendan's going to come. As you all know, we've been talking about the We're Listening project that Three Things and the Foundation have been working on together. We have, I think, I saw more come in over the weekend. We never know until Simon scrubs through them, if they're real or not. But we have, as of Thursday afternoon, we had 35 full applications to take part in the in-person gathering, one of our youth development gatherings in Ottawa later in February. And we can only select 18, so it's it's a big job to go through them all, because it's not about and it's always funny, right? We get these applications, and I want to bring at the end almost every one of them, if not everyone. Yeah. But we're not looking to see who's best. We're looking to see who the best fit is, right? All together. It's but it is it's a big task, and so we're really thrilled. Val Tracy's going to join us. Tracy Roddy, who's helped on lots of projects over the years and has taught me the power of asking for help many years ago. I was working on a project and I was really unwell. Like my depression was like, that's the last time that I had a full episode of depression. And this is, goodness, 11 years ago, maybe 12 years ago.
Wow.
And I watched, it's the time of my life where I watched every episode of every brand of Law and Order.
Oh, no.
3 months I watched Law
That's
and
a
Order
lot of TV.
every day, all day. I would start my day at my computer and I would try and then just like defeat it and back to the couch. And I got really behind on a couple of really large projects, and Tracy was so valuable in just being there. Sometimes I just needed her just to be in my office with me, just because I just needed someone there while I worked, right? Other times she would hold up flip charts and go through them with me, and like it was amazing. Like it was it was really, really good. I will never forget that kindness that she showed. She just came and she is the very best. And Stephen P is totally right. She is deserves all of the hearts.
How'd you deal with that humility, like the eating that humble pie?
Well, you know,
I mean, obviously it was force fed to you, but
well, I had to be honest about it at some point, right? And Tracy's presence allowed me to be honest. So allowed me to be able to say to my clients, like, this isn't going to happen as we thought. Like, I'm sorry. And there really was nothing I could do, right? Like, so I think very shortly thereafter, I realized that, and this is the thing about mental health, right? Is that there are some times where there just isn't anything we can do in that moment. We're stuck in that space. And until we say the words, I need some help, or I need help, or please help me, nothing is going to change. Like, and whether it's depression, anxiety, or other more complicated health issues like mental health issues and mental illnesses, until we can say those words, we are either faking it till we make it and then we crumble, or we just are stuck in that space. And so the humility piece was just that I just didn't want to be like that anymore. I just didn't want to feel that way. And I was just, and also Law and Order, I'd run out of episodes. So and I was fearful I would get into like another long series. So
yeah.
So nonetheless, Tracy's going to join us and give us a hand as well, and provide great insight. And those who know her know that she's super smart and funny, and but also like real, as Simon said, like a really good judgment of character and stuff. So I'm very excited that Mr. Gugu will be here at Three Things next weekend, and maybe not, but maybe even depending on his flights, maybe even do the first show ever of all time together. And so wouldn't that be fun?
That would be awesome. Have a real great weekend of work.
Yeah.
Get in the old studio where we first started out.
Oh, I immediately thought that. I'll have to take it all off and all the bazillion boxes that are there. But yeah.
Nice.
And by I mean Simonic. But
yeah, poor Simonic.
So yeah. So anyways, we
have a great show tonight.
Right, it is going to be a great show. And you know why it's a great show is we have 3 years ago we first met this fella, and I'm going to tell you something. Like I still need to find a way to have him at something we do, because there are not as many folks in the world who are as awesome as Wyatt Sharpe, who's going to join us tonight. And Wyatt is literally just every year stronger and stronger in his role as a journalist, but also just watching him develop literally, I think he's going to have his own, like, when I say channel, like, I mean, like, not limited to YouTube, but maybe it is, because that's his generation, right? But I'm going to show you to ask him some questions, because he's got like a team now working on this with him.
What? That's sick.
Correspondence, and he's got a producer, I think, who was
nice.
And everyone knows I love Simon. But I'll tell you, this person who reached out to me to secure the booking for tonight was like, I'm like, I wonder if we could hire them.
Probably, yeah.
So why don't we bring Wyatt out? He is here. There he is, right there.
Look at this guy.
You're putting the expectations very high, I must say, but it's
well, okay. Well, you said the word high, so now I have to ask you, because Brandon and I were talking last week. You are notably larger than you were when we first met when you were 13 years old. So how tall are you now, Wyatt?
Oh God, that's like probably the number one comment I get whenever we go to like a family gathering or something. Oh my God, you're so tall now. I honestly, I have no idea. I was at my cousin's house on Christmas, and they have this thing on like their door where everyone every time measures their height. And quite honestly, I did it. I kind of forget, but somewhere around the 5 foot category, which I would hope so. I would hope I wasn't below or underneath that, but
there you go.
Nice.
You say 5 foot category?
Pardon me, sorry?
Did you say 5 feet?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah. You certainly though look much taller than that on camera, just so you know.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to adjust the little headroom that we got there, but it's all right.
I feel like a lot of politicians are shorter. Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah. Well, Wyatt, welcome back, my friend. It is before we go any further, you're going to be tortured because Brendan and I want to offer you a little song.
All righty, here we go.
Happy birthday! Oh, why you took a sip?
I thought you were going to give me a second to.
I think he's probably looking for some sort of an excuse to avoid it. So
yeah, that was an escape route. Okay,
just like getting ready.
Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Wyatt. Happy birthday to you. And you smell like one, too.
So last year you went to Washington, D.C. for your birthday. That was the last time we talked.
Yep, yeah. I feel like it's been especially. I remember that trip quite vividly to Washington. It was kind of my intro to American politics on my show and stuff, and that was quite the trip. I had quite a lot of interesting moments on that trip that I have photos in my little studio here on the wall from that trip of people that I met that I am quite fond of. So yeah.
Well, it was absolutely fantastic to follow along on that trip, and it was. Because I think now, if I'm not mistaken, you joined us like days after each of your birthdays, like in that year, like around in January.
Something like that, yeah. I think last time it was I went on a trip last year to Washington, like at the end of January. So yes, somewhere around there.
And the year before as well. So I think we now, just so you have to have this understanding, is that when we build connections in community at Three Things, they generally last forever. So you can't really get rid of us. So our expectation, regardless of what role you have and where you're at in the world, is that in January, around your birthday, you've got to come and join us. Understood?
Of course. I said I was talking. I have like a number of different people who've reached out for whatever reason. They always come in at the beginning of the year after like the holidays. I think everyone's just like so eager to get back to what they're doing after the break, or I don't know. But every time around this time, specifically this year, though, I have like 5 people who have reached out in the past like 2 days wanting to do a podcast interview, but I always enjoy doing this one the most. So especially trivia, although I must say I the very first time I did that, I think I probably set the expectations way too high. So I feel like I'll probably get a little bit embarrassed during that opportunity tonight. So we'll have some fun though.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I haven't seen anyone that good at trivia to this day yet. So
and so Lana even asked, "Are you going to be doing trivia tonight?" And I almost didn't, because I actually felt so bad for Brennan. Like it's awkward to watch, right? It is just awkward to watch him be just desperate. And last year, I think we even
watching someone roll down a hill.
It is exactly like really just roll down a hill, and you shouldn't laugh, but you do. But So we will have some trivia tonight. But I curated it specifically when we get there with some categories. So pop culture, making news, music, movies and TV, and sports and games.
All right, I feel like we got a little bit more down the middle, perhaps. Now there's just a couple categories there. I don't know how well we're going to be doing on my end, so
Might get the wild card on this one.
you can redeem yourself. You might even win. Who knows?
In fairness, I did try to open it up so that Brennan may have a shot. Although I thought we had anime questions last year that you didn't get.
Well, see, the problem wasn't the first one like Star Wars or something.
Yeah, oh yeah, Star Wars.
Yeah. Like it was rigged for me, and I got obliterated.
Either way, it's always, you know what, Wyatt, a thing I've learned in my life is you just surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. And so anytime you come and join us,
just fixing the mic.
Oh, are we good?
Almost. It's a little crap. It's a little something happened. Oh, there we go. All gone. Oh, okay. Are you still there? You're still there. Yes.
I'm there. Yeah.
So we're using this new system, StreamYard, which it really is
like our third time using it so far.
Yeah, and we've done a couple of tests. Oh.
I got you. If you're curious, I got you. I can hear you.
Can you hear? You can hear us so clear?
I can, yes.
Oh, you don't hear the crackling?
No.
Okay, so he's getting it like I get it.
Yes, now I'm hearing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've been having this audio issue that has been recurring every time we started using this new software.
And now it's gone.
See.
And we can't figure it out yet.
Well, I'm good. I can hear you.
Okay.
That makes me happy.
So there we go. So folks at home, just stomach through the noise, and if it happens, and
if you guys can hear it, let us know.
What I've done is I've changed to my iPhone microphone. It just sort of allowed me to pick it, and that's going to go away.
Yeah, and it's weird though because I have the same mic as Peter, and I haven't had.
Yeah,
he hasn't had the issue with me yet.
Now that this is I think Wyatt is you, and so I think the issue is the software. So that's what I just said. I was about to talk trash about StreamYard, and then it started. So
you thought it. It's like the whole PlayStation. As soon as you think about it, it won't work.
I apologize to StreamYard for even suggesting that it was your software. And either way. Now I see what you mean.
Yeah.
For a sec there.
And it's so random. Like I can't even try to figure out what it comes from.
Okay, yeah. So we don't know either. So Wyatt, I just muted your mute for a second, just so you know. So we were having this problem with so it's not the microphones. We now know that it's the software. Something's happening with the software. And Mello aliens. I still think it's StreamYard that I talk trash about them and they come in for the kill. But we'll make it work here. And so we're going to ask, I've got my first question for you is 2023 has come and gone. What has been what was a highlight? And so maybe just start with telling people at home what it is and why do we love you so much? And so many other people are big Wyatt fans and champions of Wyatt. What is it that makes you different than the average 15-year-old?
Okay, I think, okay. Can you hear me? Is my microphone clear? Is it all good? Good. Okay, wonderful. Well, I mean, first of all, you put a lot of pressure on me here because that makes me sound very, very fancy in answering that question. But this year in particular, I did a couple of things. When we last talked, I was in Washington in January, I think it was, and I met some pretty cool people that I like. I met Wolf Blitzer from CNN, Pamela Brown and Dana Bash and a number of people. And so I've kind of, stayed in touch with them as well. And they've been super great. And I've met them a couple of other times, even throughout the year as well. Then I'll kind of go in order of the year here. So I, from February to March, put my show on a bit of a pause to participate in the Page program at the Ontario Legislature, which was, even though I have my show, and a lot of people were kind of surprised that I did it, just because I have to put my show on pause when I do it, because one of the rules that they have is you can't use social media or anything when you're part of the program, because you're meant to be kind of nonpartisan and non-biased. And even though my show is nonpartisan, even if I make a comment about something, it could be perceived the wrong way or what have you, even in my kind of unbiased role. So I had to put on pause for a little bit, but it was a cool experience, something that I would definitely recommend to anyone who is in, I think it's grade 7 or 8. And then there's also one for people who are in, I think it's college and university. And so, so there's one for the federal parliament as well. And then there's the one for the provincial parliament. So that was something I did. And then when Joe Biden came to Canada in March, it was, I believe, I got accredited. And so I covered all of the events for my show. I went to the Ottawa airport at the reception center, and I was there when the plane landed. And it was, first of all, was a very long process. So I'll just kind of walk you through it here, because I found the logistics of it very interesting. People might find it boring, but I'll tell you anyways. So basically you go, and you went to, in the case of this particular visit, you went to a certain location and you had to go through security there. And then they had buses that they would take you from the location in Ottawa, where all the security was, to wherever the event was being held. So it was quite an interesting experience. You were on this bus here. Those are the types of opportunities where it really stands out that you're, 14 years old. For sure. And then, over the course of the summer, I did a number of other things I went to Washington again and to the White House, and that was in the summer. And then I closed off the year in Alabama for the final Republican debate. And so I was there, and I interviewed some of the candidates and some of their surrogates and stuff. I met Megyn Kelly, who was the moderator of the debate. And so there was a lot of cool experiences there as well. And it's been a lot of fun. I guess the main focus of this year has been diving into American politics, or I guess kind of North American politics as a whole, just because it obviously impacts people in Canada as well, which is obviously where I'm based. I live just about an hour east of Toronto, in Durham. But still, I think people in Canada are very interested, especially right now with Donald Trump, who is, coming back onto the political scene in a very awkward way. It's going to have a big impact on Canada as well. So I've been interviewing members of Congress and presidential candidates, and it's been a lot of fun. Certainly their politics a little bit more polarizing than ours is here in Canada, but nonetheless, it's been enjoyable.
Well, it's been
so
amazing.
Crazy.
It's been amazing to watch. I watched your coverage of Biden coming in, and was thrilled to see that you were there. And I think the key for folks who are watching at home is you're getting accredited. Like that's like it means that someone other than folks who watch you on YouTube are acknowledging that you are a journalist.
It was actually quite a bit of a long process. So basically what happened, it was this big, lengthy, long form that I got from any journalist who wanted to cover it. It's a very big event, obviously, him being here, and they're very kind of selective in who they allow to cover it. And so I reached out to Global Affairs Canada, I think it was the Foreign Affairs Minister's office, and asked them, how do I apply? And they sent me the link. But I assume they just didn't clue in. But anyways, so I clue into what I'm about to say here, because they sent me 8 pages worth of forms, or it was like an online form that you filled out. And then I clicked submit after spending a really long time on my application. Because if you work for CBC News, you just put CBC News in the outlet name, and it's like that, you're automatically accredited. But when you put outlet, the Wyatt Sharpe show, who people, at least, I think a lot of people in the political sphere have heard of it, but for someone behind the scenes who perhaps isn't, as connected to politics or to kind of the day-to-day news cycle or what have you, they might not have heard of it. And so when they saw that, you have a lot more to prove on your application. And so I worked a long time on this, and then I click submit, and I get this big message in bold saying, you must be 16 years old to apply. And I was like, oh, great. And so then I was like, and this was, keep in mind, because it's very short turnaround. So they don't release the actual form until like a week before you have to submit it. So you have a week to submit it. And so I think they released on a Monday. I was like trying to submit it on like a Tuesday to try and be on top of things. And usually that would be a lot of time. You save 3 days, but all of a sudden now you have 3 days to message all these people, and because they make no exceptions to message all these people and try to get it fixed. But long and short of it, they fixed it on the form and it all worked out. But that was after we, booked the hotel, booked everything, booked interviews with people in Ottawa, and had like our whole itinerary planned out. And then it went down the drain almost in a short second, but we revived it, so it was all good.
So to be clear, you have to be 16 or over to be accredited, and someone somewhere recognize the skills that you carry and the professionalism that you have. You've got an earpiece. Oh my God, you're like in the CIA. Like, so that's
some Secret Service stuff right there. That's cool.
So
I've always wanted to wear one.
Totally. Now I think we should get them. So someone has saw that, recognized it, and literally changed what's probably been a expectation or rule or whatever you might use forever. You changed that.
That gives me a lot more credit than I deserve. I mean, I think the person who accepted it and who went around should.
No. If people who are listening to this program know anything about Peter and the work that we do, we talk a lot about systems change and changing systems and generational changes. Like that, like you're like a living embodiment of what we talk about. Like you're exactly. Taking something that you're super passionate about and that like just fires you, and you're going on it head on, like full force, and challenging the system that it's in, and like literally changing, like, like just like that opens the door for people, the next generation. Like that's amazing.
Like in 5 years from now, there's going to be another 14-year-old who's probably seen your stuff and who's going to have an opportunity because you went on Tuesday and did it. You submitted it. You kept going. You kept going. You kept going. It is the reality is that is what leadership is. That's what bravery is. Like clicking the thing is brave. And then the beauty is that you get to create these fundamental changes. That's like, lift our hands to you, young man. Like I already liked you. So now it's even like, this is fundamental. Like when you go to bed tonight, and I'm not just saying this, like, it's not just a tagline, but you matter in this world. Like you've opened this door. What you're doing is so important. Like you are important, and you certainly belong in this space. And you're right. The person did recognize it and change the rule, but it only got changed because you kicked open a door for young people all across the country. Like,
and I like that you said kicked open too. You didn't open the door, like you kicked it open.
Yeah,
I had to. It's definitely been a little bit, especially. I mean, in Canada, it's very polite. I mean, I know as Canadians, we often like overcome that stereotype, and we don't necessarily like to be described as being polite. But as I've kind of went more into the American political side, people are. I mean, now that Ron DeSantis's campaign is over, it's fine. I'll tell the story. But I was at the GOP debate in Tuscaloosa, and one of his staffers, who shall remain nameless, I asked him, I was like, so is anyone from your campaign available for an interview? This was after Vivek Ramaswamy had given me an interview, and I told him, and no, it wasn't only going to be airing on my show, but I also had, media segments scheduled throughout the night. I was going on a couple of US stations, also stations that have a fairly big viewership. And I had sent him, would you or someone be available for an interview? And he said, I guess. And then he's standing there, and then someone from, I think it was The Hill or another outlet, comes along and asks him to do an interview. And he's like, oh, yeah, sure. And then he just walks right away. So then I had the deputy campaign manager, who was like right beside this guy as well. And anyway, so I interviewed the deputy campaign manager. But I guess it's kind of a reflection of how people are a little bit hesitant at first. But I mean, in the example of someone like a Vivek Ramaswamy, regardless of whether or not you agree with his politics, my show's fairly well known to a certain degree, for someone in my position, but obviously nowhere near the exposure that something like CNN or Fox would get. And, he still came on. It took a little bit of pushing, but he still came on. And he gave me a 15-minute interview. I was asking him questions, and so people are willing to make the time, with the exception of a few in that example that I gave. But yeah,
I have a feeling I know someone who's not going to come back on your show. And
I think I don't hear you anymore. Oh, wait, now
yeah,
I
your
do.
audio cut out there, Peter.
Go ahead. I think I know who you're going to say, but go ahead.
Oh, no, I can't hear you. I can't hear you now.
Oh, you can't hear me.
I can hear you, Wyatt. I can't hear Peter.
Oh, yeah, me neither.
Hello.
Oh, there you go. We're back.
I think the phone just like disconnected for whatever reason.
Oh.
I'm going to have
I think I know who you're about to say, so let's hear it.
Okay, well, so I'll play the clip because I think the clip is the greatest example of the fact that you are a journalist, and I am not going to, and I think even in our communications about this show, we talked. I referenced you as a journalist who just happens to be young, and so I think it's important that folks remove the youth journalist or the young journalist or the 15-year-old journalist, because I think that's kind of BS a little bit, because you're a journalist. That's what you are in that space. When you're wearing your tie and you're out with your microphone and your camera, you're a journalist who just simply happens to be young. And what I've enjoyed watching your show is that and we subscribe to your channel, and so we look at your shows. When they come on, I watch them or I listen in the morning to them. But here's the interesting thing is that you have been able to demonstrate a real sort of neutral position, politically speaking. And I've watched you on other programs because you're not now only a journalist, but you're also a commentator now. People are seeking you out to share your insight into what's happening in the news. And that transition, just so you know, and having been involved in media for 30 years and over 1,000 different engagements with media all over the world, the reality is that transition from telling the story to being part of the story, right, as a commentator, doesn't naturally happen in that short a period of time. And so that's been really cool to watch. But when you do that, when I listen to you, I'm like, your neutrality, they don't want you to be neutral quite often. They want to know your opinion, right?
And I will say, sorry to cut you off, an example of this, I was contacted by Fox News on their morning show, who wanted me to go on their show to talk about, basically, the question I got from one of their producers was quite literally, "Hi, Wyatt, I know you're in Canada, but you've interviewed a lot of people. Do you have any concerns surrounding the age of Joe Biden?" And obviously, if I had have said yes, then they would have said, "Okay, great, come on our show." And I basically told them, I said, well, I mean, it's obviously a relevant question. Some people think yes, some people think no. Democrats think this, Republicans think that, and I ironically did not hear back from them. So, I mean, people try and get me to, and I mean, in reality, in hindsight, I mean, I might have done it just because it's Fox News. They have millions of viewers. But I responded with because I don't want to outright say that, Joe Biden is too old or is, not too old, because if I were to do that, sure, I'm going to get a lot of hits now. I'm going to get a lot of views now, but I think as I would advance forward with my career and what have you, if that clip were to resurface or what have you, and there's this clip of a supposedly nonpartisan or non-biased journalist calling Joe Biden too old while half of the United States still is fond of him in a good way, then that would not reflect very strongly on me. So sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to add some context.
That's excellent, and that's a great example. And
that's high level thinking, man.
It is super, because that's, again, it is a
like, I'll tell you, like, it's like not a lot of people think about the big picture. It takes a lot of people a long time to even start thinking about it. And like the fact that you have it in the back of your head just instantly, like you're ready to just like stand, like just stand 10 toes down, like, is awesome. It's good for you, man. And it's gonna, like it's a strong foundation you got. Sorry.
Yeah. No, and you'll see in this clip the greatest skill set. So, like, I was so impressed. So, who do you think it is that I'm going to play the clip of?
I believe it's Carrie Lake, if I'm not mistaken.
It is going to be Carrie
Okay.
Lake. And the clip basically set the tone for the beginning of that interview. So tell people know who Carrie Lake is, first of all.
Okay, so basically what happened is Carrie Lake ran for governor of Arizona in the midterm elections, and her entire thing is being a close ally of Donald Trump, even when she's running her Senate campaign completely independent of a former president. That's the other thing. It's not like Donald Trump was running at the same time as Carrie Lake, because that perhaps you would Donald Trump, someone who lost the last election, and more importantly, lost the state of Arizona. So if you were to be thinking politically strategic here, you would think like, okay, maybe not resonating with him is the best thing, seeing as how Arizonans don't actually like him. But that's besides the point. So anyways, she ran for governor of Arizona. When I interviewed her, she was basically just a surrogate for the Trump campaign. She wasn't like she wasn't necessarily like a candidate for anything, although now she's running for Senate in Arizona as well and is still supporting Trump. And look, I mean, I've interviewed a lot of people on the Trump campaign. I've interviewed people like Caroline Levitt, who's the national press secretary, and like she's very nice. Caroline Levitt's very nice, but Carrie Lake just had this like attitude. Like she comes on the call, and first of all, she asked me where I'm from because I had this same backdrop as I did when I was there. And I told her, well, I'm from Toronto. A lot of my show's based in Washington. And I mean, usually someone like her, maybe their team would do some research ahead of time or something. But she was like, oh, okay. And then anyways, we went on, we did the interview, and I guess the clip will probably speak for itself. But she was nice. I mean, although aside from like here's the thing people have to understand: off camera and on camera versions of people like Carrie Lake are completely different. On camera, she told me that it's not my fault that I don't look at the evidence. She told me I'm doing a horrible job as a journalist and what have you. And then off camera, Carrie Lake was at least at first very nice, very like engaging and what have you, asking me how I got started because she herself is a former journalist. But then after I did the interview, she like could not get off the Zoom quick enough and she ended the call. But yeah, I mean, there's two sides of these people, and so you'll, I guess, show the clip. But
well, here we go. So this, folks, is Wyatt interviewing Carrie Lake, the former candidate for Senate or the governor in Arizona, and he asks her a question that she does not respond.
And let me just say too, I don't know which part of the clip you're going to play, but so just for context to people, I'm assuming it's something about election interference is what you're going to play. So I was not going to ask her about that. I was just planning on asking her if she was running for Senate, because a few days before interviewing her, she had there was a story published in Axios that was saying that she was going to run for Senate. So I asked her if she was running for Senate, and then she gives this long-winded answer about how her entire focus right now is about her court case that's going to, get this big, huge result, and that's going to overturn the election for her. And that's when I asked her about election interference, because I can't help but not ask when she completely avoids the question and goes on to talk about something completely unrelated. So that's kind of the context of the clip, I imagine.
Exactly. So here we go. So this is one of those moments that I watched and I'm like, oh my God, he's brilliant and amazing. Asking honest, difficult questions and getting, and just the last piece of context, she had said earlier in the interview how delightful you were and how skilled you were and all of it.
Right,
so,
right.
So here we go. I think this is just going to go and start to play if I click this button. So.
I want to go back to something you mentioned as it relates to election integrity. You mentioned that you obviously had a couple of cases in the courts as it relates to your run for Arizona governor in 2022. I am curious. A lot of people are questioning the reasoning behind doing this. They're wondering, at a time when there is no evidence of electoral fraud, why not just move on, perhaps run for Senate, as you say, but why stick so much to the argument that the election was stolen when, again, there is no evidence?
Well, Wyatt, I hope you won't fall into the habit, as all of these other horrible journalists who are really propagandists, by saying there is no evidence. What a journalist's job to do is to actually dig in and take a look. And there is plenty of evidence. There's a mountain of evidence. Just because a judge hasn't ruled in our favor doesn't mean there's no evidence. And guess where the evidence comes from? Comes from Maricopa County elections themselves. So we have a mountain of evidence. We have not had a courageous judge willing to rule in our favor. There's a saying, you can bring evidence to, so you can bring a mountain of evidence to somebody, but you can't force an idiot to look at evidence. And we've got a lot of idiots in the media who won't do their job and actually dig into and look at the evidence. We have evidence showing that they intentionally did not do a proper certification of the machines. They did a dog and pony show on the 11th of October, where the media came by and where a Democrat and a Republican observer, and they tested a tabulator machine, and oh, wow, it all passed. Everything was great. And then 3 days, over the course of 3 days, they did secretive testing where the media wasn't present. There wasn't a Democrat. There wasn't a Republican observer. They broke the seals on tabulator machines. They took out the memory cards, put in new memory cards, and then tested those machines where 59% of them failed. And then they took those failing machines and rolled them out into Republican voting centers on election day so that they would intentionally fail. They printed the wrong image on the ballot. They had 4 and 5 and 6 hour lines. We now know that they didn't use approved software for the entirety of the Maricopa County elections. They had 298,000 ballots, mail-in ballots with absolutely zero chain of custody. Those are invalid ballots. They shouldn't have been counted. The list goes on and on and on. This is hard evidence. It comes from Maricopa County itself. And I can't help it. If you haven't taken a look at it, you'll have to do your job as a journalist and do that.
So I don't want to, I guess, as I said, I don't want to stick too much on this issue in the limited time we have, but I do just want to ask you too, because there have been independent reviews that have been completed that found that some of these issues with Maricopa County that you are talking about is not necessarily directly tied to voter fraud. And I will just point out that they did mention that there were printers at 70 of the 223 voting locations in Maricopa County that produced various formatting marks on some of the ballots that were essentially too light to be tabulated. But these independent fact checks, these independent reviews, they have pointed out that it is not tied to electoral fraud. So if you do...
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's called the McGregor Report, correct?
Correct, yeah. But if...
Okay. That was Maricopa County, the criminals who rigged this election, doing their own internal investigation. We're going to do an independent investigation. Yeah, right. Give me a break. They didn't even contact the printer company to find out what was going on. And yet they slandered the printer company. And I expect a very large lawsuit coming in very soon. That was a bogus cover-up report to try to cover their butts because they know they've been caught rigging elections, and the people of Arizona are onto it. So they did their own investigation. Isn't it nice? Wouldn't you like to investigate yourself? When you investigate yourself, it's probably not going to be very independent.
So perhaps I moving on from this issue, obviously, I'm sure the conversation could go on and that was, so the biggest irony that I find is she's talking about how all of this is done in secret and how all of this, and yet she somehow knows about all of this as a candidate. She still knows about how all of these officials are trying to do all this in secrecy, and yet she is still able to come forward and talk about all this despite it being some, big, huge secret process. So anyways, I found that quite ironic, but I moved on actually after that clip that you played to talk about something else, and then she went straight back to that issue. And so despite her saying she doesn't want to talk about it, that is literally, at least at the time, what her entire message was on. And look, I would love to have her back on my show and talk about real kind of, substantive issues, to talk about her run for Senate, to talk about what she would do for Arizona. But again, and that was the original intention when she came on, but then she mentioned her court case and I just couldn't help but ask about it. And I mean, even some people, like, she does interviews with Piers Morgan all the time, who is as conservative as it gets. And yeah, she does the same thing with him. Piers Morgan asks her similar questions and it goes about the same way.
Well,
she seemed like she couldn't wait to tell you.
Karen,
Well,
you
here's the
said,
thing. I mean, I think she probably thought that like in many respects, she was going to come on and it was going to be a like cute interview, because despite it being a little bit like obviously I mean, people say that like saying I'm a 15-year-old journalist is, bad or what have you, but it is obvious, and it is kind of the first thing that people look at. And I feel the need to obviously present myself as that in some ways. And so I think, for example, somebody like her, she had this like preset expectation going into the interview that I was going to ask her, why are your policies so great or something like that. And I guess she wasn't maybe expecting that, or maybe she was, I don't know. But I mean, yeah, like when I interviewed Caroline Levitt, again, that was just a few days ago now. She's the press secretary for the Trump campaign. She obviously has views that are aligned with Donald Trump, and some of which are controversial, but she didn't bring up the election, so-called election interference, you could say. So I didn't ask her about it. And so, but if someone brings it up, then I guess I'll ask about it, or any other issue that doesn't, facts aren't on their side, so to speak.
well, you were, and I think you're right. She did. Her presumption was, and in the first 10 seconds, she talks about how Arizona needs a mom. And when I heard, I think, and my thought was that she was saying it because your age, and she was expecting to say like, well, what's your favorite movie? Like, what do you do for your, I like to relax, or like that was in my my takeaway was sort of, that was her presumption of what she was about to get into there, and what she
Well, and I
got
mean, I just gonna say, I think part of it too is like, this is really the bare minimum, right? Like there's not like, and I realize for me, because I'm 15, it's different, but at the same time, it's like, it's unfortunate that in some ways our media, like in the US, you have outlets that are either far to the left or far to the right, even not so much in Canada. I mean, I feel like we have a fairly balanced media environment in Canada, at least as much as it gets. But specifically on the political side, like it's just, before it was like everything should be grounded in facts, and now it's like, to a certain degree, especially in the States, that's just gone out the window. Whereas it used to kind of be the bare minimum. So as long as we can maintain that, then I mean, I think our political discourse will be stronger and hopefully better. I don't know how we can, reaffirm that. And I think part of it is ensuring that journalists and people in the media industry actually push back on people when we give them platforms and they use those platforms in negative ways, like she was doing in that instance. Then yeah, I think that's kind of the main thing that we have to look at. So
I'll ask one question for with your commentator hat on versus your journalist hat on, and if you don't have a take, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'd be curious to know. I'd be curious to know your take, because I do think I think that divisiveness that has we've seen in the States, in the media in the States, I think the creep has occurred here in Canada, and certainly data shows that the divisiveness that started in the States has crept here as well. We're seeing stats around the percentage of what, like when we're looking at opinion polls, and not even about politics per se, but about issues that matter to folks, right? Like that divisiveness, and even just in our context as First Nations folks, right? We know that now in Canada, that several years ago there was a large jump in Canadians who felt it was important for reconciliation to occur. It was important for governments to be responsible. It was important for our people to have equity, like equitable opportunities and access. But in the last 3 years, those numbers have actually gone down statistically, and significantly down, 15, 18 points, like percent. And so part of it is that stems, and the messaging of Indigenous people get too much from Canada has increased a belief of that. And that's just an example of that divisiveness. You can add it to many different issues, right? And in the media in this country, I do fear a little bit I fear the attack on what's called mainstream media, right? CBC, CTV, Global. I fear the attack on the mainstream media. I'm not always a fan of those folks, and I think that they get things wrong. But at the end of the day, the fact that mainstream media is now seen as a dirty word or a dirty term, and do you think that's occurred in Canada? Do you think that is the case, like from what you see?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, to touch on the commentator thing too, like I think part of it is like oftentimes commentators are like specific to a political party. I guess it's kind of a mix of like of both being a journalist and like more of an analyst for me, kind of looking at all the facts and just breaking it down from where people see it and still not giving my own personal opinion. And so on an issue like that in particular, like it definitely I mean, Pierre Poilievre uses those kind of terms quite regularly, and just conservatives kind of as a whole use those terms quite regularly, or at least yeah, at a higher level than they used to, because it's despite them, and people like Pierre Poilievre saying that, I mean, it's still how they get their message out, and if it wasn't for the mainstream media, then people wouldn't know who Pierre Poilievre is aside from social media. But the reality is a lot of Canadians still have, although it might be going down in some ways, they still have, the nightly news on. And that's how a lot of, at least, certain demographics of people, that is how they get their news. And so that, how Pierre Poilievre is widely known. And yeah, I mean, the mainstream media is, I mean, you see in particular right now with local news, I mean, it's dying out. But I was talking to someone recently about the importance of local news, and specifically on U.S. side of things. Oftentimes now, when a big story breaks, they have so much resources behind them in terms of like these big news networks that they can just send a correspondent to whatever's happening. And it's like, well, the like Nexstar, for example, is a very big corporation in the US that owns a bunch of local stations, and they also now have a national station by the name of News Nation. And for example, this is an example that is really kind of resonating, I think, to a lot of people, because despite them having a lot of national correspondents, they have all these local stations across the US. So when a big story breaks, despite News Nation being a quote unquote mainstream network, as people would describe it, they still have local correspondents on the ground. And that's in many ways beneficial, because local correspondents know the community. They have local sources that they can go to for information, and what have you. And so, I mean, I think that although people using it to score political points in many ways, whether it be in the US or Canada, mainstream media is still incredibly important, because it's how people get their message out. It's how people learn the facts. And I mean, people will make the argument that social media is going to be the future. People get their news from the online world. But I mean, you look at a platform like Twitter right now, and I mean, ever since Elon Musk took over, I mean, I feel like I probably have 50 notifications a day on my Twitter account of just like bot accounts and people who have no like actual status behind their account. And so it becomes to a point where it's like, if people are making comments on a post, or people will start to perceive that as reality. Or I mean, even on TikTok, for example, you'll be scrolling and there'll be accounts that are literally designated rather to posting fake news stories. And I mean, in some cases it's funny. Like there's an account I think I follow called Mousetrap News or something, and it's funny stories about, like, there was one I saw, and it was like Mickey Mouse is no longer going to be the name behind Disney because of copyright expiration or something. And it's like, well, do you actually know if that's true or not? And then they have another video that's like completely untrue. And it's like, I think one of the other videos I saw was like, there's Disney's installing a lot of them are based around Disney, but Disney and their theme parks are installing a new roller coaster that if you go on it, it's going to be so steep. And, they're calling it the roller coaster of death, and just like these really crazy stories. But it's like, in some ways, these accounts will post real news stories. And so that when they post something that is entirely fake, it at least makes it seem somewhat believable. And so there's so much out there on social media that the mainstream media still plays a huge role. I guess a long-winded answer for something, though, but I think it's incredibly important.
Yeah, and I do think that it's critical that we support journalism. It's in my lifetime. I've gone from delivering the paper as a kid, like a lot of people my age and older did.
I did it as well. Just putting it out there. Yeah, I did.
Oh, really?
Not a lost art, Peter. Don't worry.
What paper did you deliver?
It was Clarington this week in like our very small town. It was, but yeah.
Awesome. And is that the one that you started writing for originally?
No, it's a different one. So Clarington this week is like Clarington's like the name of the municipality, and then where I live is like an even smaller town called the Orono Times, and so I started writing for them in like June of 2020, I think, and I'm still writing a weekly article for them as well, because anytime I see where I live is so small, and it's like there's like I'll go into like the little restaurant and people don't know me as it's so funny. People don't know me as the person who goes on major networks in the US to talk about politics. They know me as the person who still writes for for the local newspaper 250 word column every week. So it's very nice, I feel like, to have kind of some, small town pride, so to speak, within within where I live, and I'm sure many of your viewers have the same experience.
No doubt at all. Well, it is just know that you're a change maker, and we're thrilled that you're part of our little circle here. And as per usual, we want to embarrass Brent. I mean, we want to give Brennan a chance to maybe.
I think it might be the other way around this year. I don't know. You're setting the expectations high with all these different categories and stuff, but here we go. I don't know.
Don't worry. I didn't prepare.
I want to open with just an acknowledgement that journalism is very really, and it is critical around the world, not just here in Canada or the States. And I think sometimes here in North America, we forget that journalism internationally is a high-risk profession. Since October 7th, there have been 83 journalists and media workers who have confirmed been killed. Both Israeli and Palestinian, as well as Lebanese. 16 journalists have been injured. 3 journalists have been reported missing, and 25 journalists have been arrested. And I think it's important just to acknowledge that this is the world that we're living in. And journalism historically has been an incredibly high-risk profession. Both those who have left, say, North America or Europe to go to other locations, as well as journalists on the ground. And so what we'd like to do, because you're not going to Washington in the next couple of weeks for a birthday trip, right?
I'm going to New York, but not Washington.
Even better.
Oh, is that your birthday trip this year, New York?
Pardon me? Well, sort of. So now I have this very exciting thing where I have sponsors for my show, and I no longer need to pay for it myself. So it's very exciting. But yeah.
Well, okay. So we're going to come back to that after the trivia. But so what I'd like to do tonight, if it's all right with the two of you, is there's an organization called the Committee to Protect Journalists, and they've been around a very long time. Are you familiar with them at all, Wyatt?
Very vaguely. I mean, I know of a couple different organizations, but not specifically.
So, and their board is made up of some real sort of significant folks from around, mostly in America, but around the world, though, both in publishers and journalists. Folks like Lester Holt, Jonathan Klein, Katie Martin. And so they represent institutions like the New York Times, News Corp, Fortune, Associated Press, Chicago Tribune, Washington Post, New York Times, et cetera, et cetera. And so what I'd like to do is I would like to support their efforts. And so I would like to put it on the shoulders of each of you to determine how well we can support them. And so don't feel bad if you get all the answers wrong, because we just won't be able to help the journalists.
Okay. Let me just say, too, I think it's relevant. I was talking to Lisa LaFlamme the other day, and by the way, a Canadian trailblazer, both in the interview I did with her before the break, before like the holidays, and I've been texting with her a little bit as well since, and she has provided such thorough insights on this exact topic, talking about how, and even I was talking to Robert Sherman, he's a correspondent on the ground in Tel Aviv right now, and they both said basically the exact same thing. Like, there's the conflicts and wars happening in Israel, in Ukraine, and all these places. And despite those being obviously significant for geopolitics, but also for the families and obviously most importantly the people involved, there are 32 global conflicts happening right now across the world, with nearly 200 countries in the world. So considering that kind of fractional distribution, you look at how many countries are actually involved in a war, and all of those countries have some sort of journalist who is there. And regardless, and oftentimes, Lisa LaFlamme said this, they don't have the backing of a major network. They are there. And in many cases, these journalists will publish their stories onto Instagram or something before they publish it in wherever it's going. And sometimes its final destination is some, website that no one has really ever heard of. And yet these people are doing it because they believe in trying to get the message out, even if it's not getting that message out to very many people. And so anyways, her message was very inspiring on that topic. So I felt like it was kind of relevant to share, but.
Yes, and it is in my notes to bring up that interview you did, which was fantastic. And I'm so glad to hear that you're still connected. That's wonderful. So all that said, if you want to support, and for folks at home as well, this foundation has an opportunity to donate. We'll put the link in the chat after.
You know what I was thinking? If I had have prepared more, we did Family Feud for our Christmas gathering, and because we have a very big family, and I bought buzzers on Amazon, and I wish I could find them, but I think they're in our garage. But I should have prepared better, and then I would have been really official.
So it's funny you say that. So I had another vision in my head, but then what I decided is we're just going to alternate. We're not going to do the buzz thing tonight.
Good idea.
You don't like my buzzer noises?
No, well, you can still make a buzz noise, but it's going to be your question either way.
You look like a fool if you do.
Let's start it off with we're going to start with pop culture. And the first question, and as Wyatt as our guest, you get the first dibs. Actually, you get first dibs on the topic that we're going to, the topic, and we'll just rotate from there.
Oh, it's like Jeopardy.
Pop culture.
Oh, I've lost your audio again. Hold on.
Yeah, okay. Pop culture.
We're gonna X-day that one from me.
Okay, there we go.
That was Siri listening.
I wonder if it's just time-based or something. I wonder if it just lets you link it for a little while. I don't know. Okay, so you can hear me again, yes?
Yep.
All right. So pick the topic we're going to start with. Pop culture, making news, music, movies and TV, sports and games.
I think you already know what I'm going to choose. So let's go. Let's go with the news one because we need to start out strong. Yeah.
Okay. So here we go.
Getting real official here.
Okay. Well, I got to get a little scorecard here going. For each correct question, we will donate $25 to help defend press freedom and supporting the Committee to Protect Journalists.
Wonderful. All right, here we go.
Okay, so the first question in the news, because I believe making news. Sorry, that is the one you were.
Yes.
Okay. Twitter was officially rebranded as X in which month?
Oh, okay, wait. So there was 1 month where I don't know if it was the same month that people lost their verification badges or not. I want to say April.
$25.
Oh, really? Okay, great. Here we go. Wonderful.
That's crazy.
Okay. So over to Brennan. Over to Mr.
That's
Bruno.
crazy.
Are you ready?
No.
Okay, here we go. So in the news, or making news, sorry, which president was featured in a famous mugshot in 2023?
Oh, come on. I should get that way. That's
Donald
so
Trump?
easy.
Donald Trump. There you go. $25.
I was gonna guess Joe Biden, but no, if he would make it.
Which brings us on to the category of music. So
there's only 2 questions in the news category. I was thinking we were gonna
just rotate through them.
Oh, great. Okay, I was gonna say we're gonna be losing here very quickly.
So, Wyatt, according to Spotify, which was the most globally streamed song of 2023?
Okay, so it's probably going to be Taylor Swift. Can I get some sort of verification?
Well, I'm going to say it's not, and I was surprised too. I assumed it would have been as well.
Okay, so not Taylor Swift. I don't even know who else is popular. I feel like all anybody talks about is Taylor Swift. Huh. God. I feel like I'm having just a major brain fart here.
No, I don't think you are. I thought this was bizarre. I didn't get it either.
Okay, I'm just gonna go with oh God.
Stephen P says Drake, and Kimmy D has put the link for community protect journalists.
See, I feel like a few years ago I would have said Drake, but I don't think he's as popular now as he once was.
Meet the Max Ween.
Oh God. Okay, I'm probably taking way too long, but I don't know. Just
so, Miley Cyrus's song "Flowers."
oh God, I would have never.
Don't even know that song.
I've never even heard it. So
Wow.
there you go. Okay, Brendan Gugu, which legendary rock singer announced retirement from touring in February of 2023? Legendary rock singer.
Oh, I think I know this.
Oh no.
No, maybe I don't, but I feel like I might.
All right, make a guess, Brendan.
I don't know. Steven Tyler?
No.
He's already
What's
retired.
your guess, Wyatt? What's your guess?
Was it Kid Rock?
No, we could only wish. It was.
Oh, really? I thought he retired too, though.
Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, I thought Kid Rock retired as well.
Yeah.
He retired? How did I not know that? That's crazy.
Okay.
That's so sad.
We're going to start with this one's for you. From movies and TV, which movie won Best Picture at the 2023 Oscars? Big news.
So bad at this. Oh, is it political? No, it's not politically. No. No, I feel like there was some sort of conversation about some stupid right-wing movie getting a lot of conversation.
Stephen P put in what might win this year, but not from last year.
Yeah,
okay,
I feel like it might be Wonka if it was this year. I don't know though. I have no idea.
Okay, over to you, Brendan. What movie won the Best Picture last year?
Best Picture?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
You've seen.
I was gonna guess Oppenheimer.
Okay, wrong year.
Right.
Oppenheimer is still the Oscars haven't happened yet.
Oh, I should have said Barbie. That's probably the other one.
Again, wrong year.
What just happened where Lily Gladstone got her?
Everything Everywhere.
Was it the Emmys? Oh, yes.
All at once.
Wait, what was it? What was it? Say it again. What?
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh God, I've never even heard of that.
Supposedly a super good movie. No, it was its own thing.
Yeah, there you
but
go.
it has to do with like time travel and like different timelines and
totally. Stephen P is thinking the Golden Globes. Okay, so sports and culture. What was the most Google searched game in 2023, Wyatt?
Like sports game?
We'll give you
video game.
Video game.
Oh, I'm so bad at video games. Fortnite is like so old news. Oh Jesus.
I'm learning how to play Fortnite right now. I'm very, very bad at it.
Are you playing no build?
No build.
You're playing the mode without building.
God, this is really horrible. I remember the first time we raised like $300 or something crazy. This time we're gonna be in the negative somehow.
I just can't believe why it's actually having a thing.
I know there is some humility here going on. Okay, Brendan, what do you think? Most Google search game in 2023?
I was gonna guess Fortnite.
Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, I would never gonna get that. No,
I would have never got that either. Okay, so that was sports and games. So back to up to pop culture. So Wyatt, who was named People's Sexiest Man Alive for 2023?
Oh Jesus, was it Ryan Reynolds?
It was not, but very good.
That's what I would have guessed. Patrick Dempsey.
Yeah.
What does he do again?
He was McDreamy on hospital show there.
Wait, did you say what it was? Did he get it or no?
Yeah, it was Patrick Dempsey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Okay.
Is he in Grey's Anatomy?
Grey's Anatomy. There you go. Okay, Brendan, your
Oh.
question. Which celebrity had a high-profile ski accident trial last year?
Trial? Like court trial?
Court trial.
Ski accident, court trial in the same
You
sentence.
guys are not doing well. We're gonna just skip the guess the
Britney
celebrity.
Spears.
No, close though. Gwyneth Paltrow. Okay,
Oh,
we're back
that's
to
funny.
making news.
Random.
Oh, good. We're back to my favorite one. Okay, wonderful.
So Wyatt, back in August, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his wife Sophie Gregoire announced that they were separating. How long were they married? I'm going to give you 4 options.
Oh, it was like 15 years or something, but go ahead.
Wait till the options. Although last time you picked them without the options, but here you go. 5 years, 25 years, 18 years, or 12 years.
Oh, 18.
There you go. $25.
Nice.
Okay. Brennan. So gun violence continues to plague communities across the United States.
True.
Which state suffered the deadliest mass shooting in 2023?
Oh, come on. You've got to get this one.
State? Bro.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I feel like there might be 2, but I feel like I know which
Florida?
one it is.
Say it again.
Florida?
Florida? Nope. What do you think it is, Wyatt?
Is it Kentucky?
No.
Oh, is it Texas?
No.
Oh, is it
Alabama?
Brennan, it's your neighbor, Brennan.
My neighbor? Maine?
Maine. Yes, it was.
Really?
Oh, really? I thought it was the one in Louisville, Kentucky.
No, the one in Maine, the soldier there. Okay, so
Tragic.
we're moving back to music, and here's a little Taylor Swift for you because she is everything everyone's talking about, like you had said. And what is the name of Taylor Swift's tour in 2023?
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
The Eras Tour. I'm so good at that one. Okay.
Ta-da! Look at that.
I was gonna guess, what is it, Emirates? The plate? The airplane?
Okay.
See, I do know something other than just politics, just so we're
There
clear.
you go. You got
Yeah.
Taylor Swift question. There you go.
I think you're
Yeah.
still beating me.
Okay.
Yeah, well.
What, Brennan, what was Rihanna's big surprise at the Super Bowl?
At the Super Bowl?
Oh,
Yeah,
come on. There's only 2
I
options,
don't
really.
watch the Super Bowl.
She was at the Super Bowl last
She
year.
bring her kid out?
She was pregnant, right?
Yes, she was pregnant. There you go.
I
Okay,
win.
matter.
She brought her kid out. She brought her
The
kid
only
out.
2 big personal news things that ever happen is you're pregnant or you're engaged, and I don't know
That's
how the other one
hilarious.
would come out on the
All right,
Super Bowl.
I gave you $25 for that because you guys worked together on it. And she
Thank you.
did bring her kid out because she showed out with a belly and stuff. It was quite awesome. Okay, I have a fun picture of me outside of standing outside of her childhood home, and then another picture of me standing outside of her current home because they're both in Barbados.
Wow.
I feel like one of them is probably bigger than the other one.
Yeah, but substantially, yeah. Okay, so we're down back to Wyatt. What food does Ted Lasso give to his colleagues?
Oh, I have no idea. Just go ahead, skip me here.
Is that from
Brennan?
Tulsa King? Who's Ted Lasso again?
Oh, you just heard me.
Who's Ted Lasso?
You show Ted Lasso.
I think we were both, even Brennan, I think, was doing better under the making news category. We should just do all of them from that one.
He brings biscuits. If you haven't seen Ted Lasso,
He
make
makes
sure you watch
biscuits.
Ted Lasso.
It's
yeah.
a show?
Yeah, it's a show.
It sounds
He
so
brings
familiar.
biscuits. It's
The
yeah,
older
it's
show or a newer show?
it's a new show. It's the soccer show. It's in Britain. In
Soccer
England.
show.
Football.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's a soccer show, and this guy makes biscuits. That's what.
Okay. So, which team won the 2023 NBA Finals? Open to either of you at this point.
What is their name? I can't remember the name.
I should phone my cousin right at
Luca plays for them. Luca Doncic. Oh.
Denver
that's
Nuggets.
tragic. There we go. Is that
Okay.
I don't know.
So now we're going to try another one here. From here on forth, you two are going to play together. You just it's
Wonderful, because we both need it.
Excellent.
So let's go.
Yeah.
okay. So the second question from Sports and Games, which 2 countries hosted the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. Two countries hosted the World Cup, the FIFA World Cup. That's soccer, by the way, football. But again, so is Ted Lasso, and you didn't know that. So
I always thought it was just one country that hosted.
So think of what would be a place for two.
Argentina
is one country. So we'll go with no. Wyatt, okay, listen to my clue.
North
Wyatt,
and South Korea.
Okay, so Wyatt, it's two countries that obviously, because they're hosting this big international sports event, have to be relatively close to each other, but are separate and maybe even make up their own continent.
What was the first one? Argentina? Is that what he said?
That's not right.
That was my guess. It was wrong.
Oh, I have no idea. Just next question, please.
Their own continent. A continent?
Australia and New Zealand.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
There you go. I am okay. You're gonna hate the fact they're back to pop culture. Jesus. So Wyatt does open. You maybe won't. Which celebrity couple revealed that they had actually uncoupled way back in 2016?
Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
What do you mean? Give me a hint by celebrity couple. I mean, that is
Kim and Kanye.
Okay, so celebrity couple. So we're both husband and wife are superstars, and they revealed last year, that they, in fact, although they had talked about still being married, had actually, and they used the term uncoupled.
It wasn't Jennifer Lopez, was it?
No.
No.
Will Smith,
Brad Pitt and
Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith.
Okay,
oh,
that's wonderful. I only knew one.
That was an interesting one to follow.
So here's another one. This is a big news story all year. It's still in pop culture. What is the new term for children of successful people, which was applied to many up and coming stars in the entertainment industry? What are they called?
Plants? Industry plants?
Nope.
That's a good one, honestly. Yeah.
So this new term that's been used through a lot of social media about these up and coming stars in the entertainment industry that had a connection. I'll add to this with a hint, that had a connection to their families.
Oh dear. My report card comes out soon. I really hope this ain't a reflection of how that's going to go. Next, really.
All right. Nepo babies, nepotism babies.
Oh,
I see.
All this rising group of stars whose parents are famous.
I've heard that term used in politics. That's it. But
yeah, I haven't heard that everywhere.
So, Wyatt, with the news in the news.
Here we go.
How many federal and state criminal cases is Donald Trump facing?
Oh. 4.
Ding, 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 ding. $25. That was a long drought, boys. We're now 1, 2, 3.
I didn't know if you meant like counts or charges, but
that was. I knew I could ask you any of them, and you'd probably get them all. But he's got 2 state courts and 2 different federal districts, and each of them that could potentially serve a prison sentence. We'll see
how that goes for him.
Yeah, totally.
How does that affect his presidential running?
Apparently, it doesn't.
Welcome to the irony of it all.
The greatest irony is that there's literally a strategy being designed by the Secret Service for how they would manage his safety if he's imprisoned and the president.
Chief and counsel should do that.
Because he actually, in theory, can be the president from prison. And so,
for the record, I do not think that is ever going to happen, but it's possible.
You don't think he's going to go to jail? Or you don't think that he'll?
I don't think he's going to go to jail personally, but
no, I don't either.
He's got too much money.
Well, I don't even think it's that. I just think that it's at the end of the day, even if he's found guilty, they're not going to put him in jail.
Not if you have enough money.
Well, I also think that it would just pose a much like what honestly for someone like Donald Trump, that's just gonna that he would just I would think most people would realize this, but him going to jail is just going to create more of a like more hassle than it's worth. And they've already used it with indictments, let alone if he goes to jail. Then everyone and look, I mean Steve Bannon and even now Peter Navarro, presumably, they just like keep appealing and appealing and appealing. Steve Bannon should have been in prison like a long time ago, and he just never works out for him. So because they keep appealing and appealing and appealing, and it just I think L.A. Honing was the one who said that, by the way. Just
back to Brennan's point of them having all this money and being able to do that. So yeah. Okay. So let's see. What do we have left here? That category is done. Movies and TV. Okay. So Wyatt Sharpe. After premiering in July, Barbie became the highest grossing movie at the U.S. box office last year. Who directed that pink-hued blockbuster about the iconic doll?
He was on the stage for the Golden Globes, I feel like.
I feel like it was she. There's my clue.
Oh, okay, then never mind.
Brennan? No.
Greta
Gerwig. Greta Gerwig.
Okay.
What? How do you say her name?
Greta Gerwig. Prominent actress.
What are we at here right now? Because we are. Oh my God! I mean, you even did us a favor by increasing the amount of money per question. I feel like the first time it was like $5 a question, and we still got to several hundred.
Yeah. Okay.
Here we are with $25, and probably not
question
even.
For both of you. I think this is one of the. Do we have any more questions here? We've got a. No, this is the last question. Who is Time's Athlete of the Year last year? And I'll give you a hint. Miami.
Not a hint.
Miami. Basketball, Miami Dolphins, Miami Vice.
You know, the first time we did this, I knew every single answer to every single political question. I knew the answer before you asked the question. And in my defense, though, it was purely political based. Just saying.
Just the last answer was Lionel Messi. So just to be clear. So Lionel Messi.
Oh, because that's where the new
soccer team is. Yes. So it is a. You are right, and I wish now we had pulled back a clip of that original night on your show here on the show, because for folks who didn't see it at home, it was brilliance beyond brilliance. We had 25 questions. It was the Globe and Mail year-end.
They were hard questions too,
and they were hard, and they weren't all politics. It was just headlines from 2023, and Wyatt got every single question correct and answered. We would give him the multiple choice, no multiple choice, just the answer. and it was brilliant to watch. Apparently, the sports and world stuff. I don't. Brennan, I've tried sports, I've tried entertainment, I've tried movies. You should know Wyatt. Brennan probably watches 13 movies a week, so easily. I assumed you would be in that space. So that is $150.
I didn't watch Barbie, to be fair.
Okay, well, there you go. $150 you guys raised, and we will double it to when we send that. So you two each will contribute $150, and we will match it and support the important work that's been happening around the world to defend press freedom. And I would imagine as well the families. I would imagine the families of those who are lost. It is all jokes aside and all laughs aside, it is important to recognize in this world that it is the news, right? The news is about real things and real people. And a lot of times it's really hard to, it's easy, I guess, maybe to miss that, right? That the news is about real people. And we are always lucky when we have journalists who are able to step up to the plate and ask honest questions, to have character and integrity, and who also, Wyatt, can laugh at themselves as well. Because at the end of the day, the reality is that we need to be when we are in positions like in public spaces, and I say this as someone who's been for a long time, we have a role which is about to anchor ourselves in humility. And my favorite saying when something doesn't go my way, like someone I don't get what I want or whatever, is generally, don't they know who I think I am? And it's important that we remember that sometimes we have to remember who we think we are and who we really are. And that's just my lived experience. I think everyone in the world needs to can practice that. You, my friend, though, are a change maker, and all the lifting up. I always just remind folks that at the end of the day, it also doesn't mean that you're not allowed to muck things up, to mess things up, to make mistakes, because that is all part of the human experience. And sometimes when we get lifted up and we do muck something up, it gets way harder for us to manage. And I don't know if that sounds familiar to you or not, but in my experience, sometimes it is for folks. But just know that every one of those muck-ups or mistakes or bad calls or whatever it is just another lesson in the path that will strengthen you in what you're doing. And they're important too. Like, I spent a considerable part of my younger life not realizing that I was not who I thought I was. And so that all said, it is you are you're just $1 million, pal. Like, there isn't a lot of folks like you, and the reality is that the world is a better place because Wyatt Sharpe is here, and Wyatt Sharpe is doing what he's doing.
That's very kind of you. So thank you. I feel very sometimes awkward. I feel like you compliment me way too much. So thank you for that. Always appreciate it.
Yeah, there's and never too much, pal. That's the thing. The last thing that I'll just share is just around those mistakes pieces is remember, and maybe you already are really good at this, but cut yourself some slack in life. Like, there are some times where we have to remember that, and Brendan and I talk about this a lot, right? I opened the show talking about a number of years ago where I was working on a very significant project with real serious outcomes. And I got to a space where I couldn't even write anymore. Like, I could not write a sentence. And I watched every episode of Law and Order for 3 months and did no work on this project. And the reality is that I spent a lot of that time beating the heck out of myself, and because I'm a human, and so when things don't always go our way, we have to remember to cut ourselves some slack. And maybe you're really good at it, but it's been my experience. People in the spotlight kind of sometimes suck at it and can talk trash to themselves like no one else can. So just know that in those times, if you ever end up in that situation where your brain is telling you something kind of crummy, that's where you remember these words, right? And remember that folks have got your back and support what you're doing and are grateful for you. So that's why the compliments, there is never too many.
Well, thank you. Very kind.
Oh, there we go. And there's Mello. And thank you for introducing us to Wyatt. Big hearts. I'm loving this feature. Eh? This is a great feature of this thing.
I love this.
Yeah, to be able to see them right on the screen.
We're gonna very high level technology.
Hopefully, it doesn't give us too much problems moving forward.
That all said, we will close with some just closing thoughts, and we'll start with you, Wyatt. If you have any closing thoughts for our friends who are watching tonight.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that Carol Rogers made a mistake, and she made it gave us an angry emoji.
Oh. Hopefully it wasn't me.
No, I don't think I just looked up. I'm like, who gave us an angry emoji? It was Carol.
It's hilarious.
Okay, so closing words.
Glad we got the question wrong.
Announcements, anything exciting, or just any words for our friends at home?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, thank you. I mean, I always enjoy doing this. As I said, I have I think tomorrow, for some reason, whenever at the beginning of the year, they all start to to come in. But tomorrow I have a couple of podcast interviews like on other people's shows and stuff. And so so I actually started at a new school this year, last year. But it's the same school that Peter Jennings went to and a number of other people. And so I was afforded the opportunity to go there. And so it's been very busy, especially recently now, because now I'm doing my show and all of this in addition to school and everything. But it's a lot of fun. And so anyway, so I'm like working it into the middle of my school day now. So like on breaks and stuff, I'm doing interviews primarily on other networks or like on podcasts or what have you, just because I like to be in this kind of setup. So what I have in my house here, I have my little office area here, which is like part of my bedroom, and then my bedroom's on the other side of that wall. And so whenever my friends come over or something, it's like very different from their areas. But yeah, no. So and then I'm headed to New York shortly too, so that'll be fun. And I hopefully gonna talk to some folks and meet some folks. Part of the thing that I'm sure you guys have experienced as well is it's like I'm messaging with all these people and stuff on my phone and meeting with them or talking to them on the phone or through Zoom or whatever. But I haven't actually got to meet a bunch of them in person yet. And so going to New York and Washington several times over the course of the past year as well gives me the opportunity to at least thank them in person for helping me out. There's a number of people. There's Ashley Banfield, who's actually Canadian. She's from Winnipeg, who is very popular journalism personality in the United States, and she's super fantastic. And so I'm gonna stop by and say hello to her. And then there's some folks at CNN and all the rest of it, some producers. And so people have been super great, and I am always thankful for people who are encouraging of my work in journalism. Part of the other thing is I do not have all of and just lastly, I'll conclude with this. I do not obviously have the resources of a major network to procure my guests and everything. So I was talking to a producer from CNN the other day, and they were like telling me, I was asking them, so like, how do you get in touch with someone who's like, their information isn't out there? And CNN pays like $8,000 a month for this program that they use, and they get people's contact information like this, and it like scours the internet and looks for their information. And so for me, it's like all me, and I just have to Google it. But people have been really supportive of that. There's a studio company in Washington who I've been using their studio, especially in recent months, and they basically allow me to send my guests to them, and then they join me here. And so it's been a lot of fun for sure, and looking forward to another year, and always happy to join the both of you.
Well, awesome sauce. Have you had you met or talked with Jamie Gang from CNN?
Not directly. So she's, I think, based in their Washington bureau, and so whenever I go to CNN in Washington, I basically try and say hello to anyone who's there. But I actually have not ran into her yet.
No, she tweeted something to me once, and I was like absolutely over the moon. Mostly not so much because of her; she's awesome, and I've always enjoyed her. But her husband is my very favorite author of all time. So that's
interesting. Okay, that's great. Well, maybe next time. I should have thought of this time. Maybe I'll surprise you next time.
There you go. Brendan, any last words here, my friend?
Yeah, nothing too much. I just want to kind of repeat what Peter said, and just we lift you up, man, and just we don't lift you up on this pedestal, but we lift you up to stay positive and keep focused, and to stay support, and just know that it's okay to like fall down and stuff, and
thank you.
Just keep I always just say, like, stay 10 toes down, just stay on that foundation that you have, and stay true to yourself, and keep being you, and just keep doing what you're doing, man. I love to see it, and just keep being you. I love it. And thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you again for joining us. Like, I really appreciate it, especially with how much you're growing and how busy you're getting, and it's only going to keep going from there. So yeah,
thank you.
All in.
Thank you. You guys are too kind. Thank you.
Well, that's what heals the world, my friend. Just kindness. And a shout out to your mom who stopped in as well at some point and watched.
Did she? There she is.
I think that's better for you, I think.
There she is. All right. Well, so the funny part here is I'll tell her that I'm going on some sort of major network and she's like, oh, that's fantastic or whatever. And, she'll watch or whatever. But when I came on with you the first time, she was watching and then she like sent the link to everyone who was watching and all the rest of it. And so, but yes, to all of my family or whatever. And they were watching and everything. So for whatever reason, she has a very and for good reason has a very strong feeling in favor of you guys. So,
well, there you go. So be well, my friend, and stay in touch. If you ever have a cool story you want to share, we're here on Sunday night, 7 o'clock, Facebook and YouTube, and as long as we can sort out this audio stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so maybe we'll reach out to you around that studio in Seattle because maybe we need a new system still. But my friends, kindness does matter, and it is really just the path forward for us all. And to be kind to ourselves and be kind to other people. And if we all just practice that a little more, it's amazing what can happen. So we will see you next Sunday night. Maybe Brendan and I will be live in our studio downstairs. Maybe not. Either way, we will see you 7 p.m. next Sunday on Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on Facebook, click the share button and make sure someone else can come walk with us and meet this amazing young man. Until then, Bama P, we will see you soon. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Come on, everyone.